hyperinflation. And I'll give you instances, Mr. Speaker. Everywhere that we've known about redomination, it is because of hyperinflation. I'll give you the case of Zimbabwe, the case of Ghana, the case of Italy, the case of Argentina, the case of Venezuela. All of those, it was because there was hyperinflation. That was why they redenominated. But let me tell you something, Mr. Speaker. What I'm trying to say here is that when you implement a policy of that nature, there must be certain a package of economic reforms that must be put in place to have that to succeed. Otherwise, as a standalone policy, it cannot succeed. And you have to take the demand and the supply side of things to have that to succeed. Now, what is happening here, Mr. Speaker?
Speaker, you are allowing the Honorable to respond.
Okay, I think, yes, let's listen to what he has to say.
Mr. Speaker,
yes,
Mr. Speaker, you've advised the Honorable Member to concentrate his debate on the speech, which should have worked for him. But he's still trying to justify that the reasons advanced by the bank governor is of hyperinflation. I can say it categorically that the same value of the leos when redenominated will be the same value. Different currency, but the same value. The real value. So if 10,000 leos can buy you this top up, when it is 1,000 one leos, it will buy you the same value of top up.
You know, I will advise both of you to discontinue this debate, particularly as it relates, particularly as it relates to the denomination of the national currency. Why do I say this? Because I do not find any reference to it in this report.
Mr. Speaker, inflation, which the president wants to reduce to single digits, is directly related to this policy. Economists on the other side will agree with me.
Mr. Speaker,
I will never pretend ever to be an economist. My knowledge of economics stopped at Form 6 at St. Edward's Secondary School. Although I must say, I scored a very high grade in my advanced level, but then that doesn't qualify me to be an economist.
Yes.
But let me say this.
Okay.
You've cited a few examples of countries that have denominated.
Denominated, yes.
And yet they have not been able to get rid of inflation.
Yes.
So
that is why I am saying here.
So I don't see the correlation.
No, there is, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you can, if you try to control inflation.
Mr. Speaker.
Can I
Mr. Speaker.
Carry on.
Mr. Speaker, can I help?
Let us debate the contents of the speech.
Okay. Let's have.
Can I help?
Okay, Mr. Speaker. Since you don't want us to continue with this,
no, because if we stray outside,
it's a common sense argument. But let us leave that. I agree with you. Let's leave that, Mr.
If
Speaker.
we stray outside the content of the presidential address,
let us leave that, Mr. Speaker. I agree with you.
Inviting a host of other issues. I see your colleague behind you was immediately tempted to react, and I'm sure there will be a few others too on my right that will also want to react, and then we'll change the whole nature of the debate.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, fine.
Fine. So let us restrict it to the presidential address.
Okay.
Find another opportune time. And I must tell you, whilst we're on this denomination, I personally have received telephone calls from former governors of the central bank who have been asking me to try and create a platform for them to come to Parliament and explain their own professional position on the denomination. Maybe it's something we want to consider.
Definitely, Mr. Speaker, and I have spoken to others too on the same issue.
Please pursue that.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, the president, in his speech, like I said, spoke about political stability, economic prosperity, in spite of the times we are living in, to show our investment in educating our future generations, building robust healthcare systems, prioritizing food security, empowering women and youth protecting and promoting rights and access to justice. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, in 2019, the president promised the youth of this country in a speech delivered in May that by November, the first set of youth will be traveling after consultation with the Belgium, Swazi, Makeni, Bo, Kenima youth, etc., that they'll have to leave this country to go buy goods of their choice, to let them be their own entrepreneurs. That was said in 2019. In 2019. And I'll quote the paragraph. It is in paragraph 113 of the speech delivered in this House by the President in 2019. In 2020, only 2 paragraphs about youth was in the speech delivered by the President. But we are here saying that we are investing in our youth. By 2021, 2022, what we keep hearing is about car washes that are built for the youth all over the country. So the youth that are supposed to be the entrepreneurs have now been reduced to only operating within car wash environments. That is how much we value our youth under this dispensation. We agree. No problem. But the talk and do president ought to have actualized that. The same president here told us about the bridge which the Honorable from Lumley was trying to defend. They told us about a bridge costing $2 billion. Last time the president came, he scaled it down to $1.2 billion. That the investors were ready to come with the cash to invest in this project. Now, what we had in the last delivery was that instead of the bridge, we are going to get 4 Turkish ferries. So instead of a bridge now we're talking about 4 ferries that are going to be procured to ply between Freetown and Lunge. So, but nobody told us that the bridge is not going to be actualized. But we know now that we are expecting 4 ferries between Freetown and Lunge. If that is the case, I still agree that the president is a talk-and-do president, but the bridge is still not there. Yet, we have nothing in this speech about that. But now, we are having 4 ferries, a build, operate, it's a PPP arrangement, public-private partnership, to have these ferries to come to ply between Freetown and Lunge, instead of the bridge. No, that's what I'm saying. So in place of the bridge that was mentioned in 2019 and 2020, now we have 4 ferries in this speech. Yes.
A bridge is not the same as
Yes.
if the president did not mention
The bridge in this document.
bridge that he had
But he
promised,
mentioned that in other documents.
that he had promised,
Uh-huh.
fine.
Yes, he promised us that.
True. But then you seem to be equating as if in place of the bridge is now introducing ferries. And
Yeah.
that is not what he's saying here.
Because the ferries are not mentioned here, the bridge are not mentioned here. But now we only have ferries here instead of bridge. But here we have bridges. Mr. Speaker, I don't know if I'm wrong.
Honorable Mr. Speaker.
No. It's just my understanding.
Yes, okay, Mr. Speaker. Let me tell you why I'm bringing
Mr.
to that.
Speaker,
Why I'm
sorry.
like,
Mr. Speaker, that's a long. We still have 20 years to go as a government, so you should give us time. We will do the bridge.
that is a figment of your imagination. That's a figment of your imagination.
No, what I'm
But
trying. Let us agree on one thing.
Mr. Speaker, what I'm trying to say here is, if we are promised a bridge 2 years back from 2 billion to 1.2 billion, and now no bridge is mentioned. Instead, what ferries?
Look,
Mr. Speaker,
may I ask you a basic question?
Ask me.
Can you refer to any document in which the president says he has abandoned the bridge idea?
No.
Exactly. So
Yes.
let's leave that.
But I also have a document where not a mention of the bridge was made. And it is the same document that the bridges were being mentioned to us.
But no, has he abandoned the idea?
Sir?
You've just replied that nowhere has he said he has abandoned the bridge idea.
But silence.
Mr. Speaker, this is a summary of what government intends doing. You don't want all what government has proposed will not be in this document.
As far as I am concerned, the bridge idea is still extant.
Still
I have
extant.
told him we have 20
Thank
years.
you. No, thank you. I'll quote you, Mr. Speaker.
Quote me.
Thank you.
We still have 20
Thank
more
you.
years to go. Give us time.
Now, Mr. Speaker, in paragraph 7, the President spoke about the mid-term digital national census, which is going to form the basis of any future development plan for this country. And we've had the idea of introducing the proportional representation system in our political system again. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I know one thing that is common. The Americans normally say, when it is broke, you fix it. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Which is bad English.
That's what.
That's the Americans.
Thank
speaking bad
you,
English.
Mr. Speaker. I know you went to Cambridge, and you speak the
When it is
Oxford English.
broken.
I am talking about what the Americans normally say.
Yes.
That is what I said.
Yes.
So I'm not speaking bad English per se.
Not you.
Thank you. That's clear, Mr. Speaker. You know I don't speak bad English. You know that. So what I'm saying here is, now we are at the elections that we normally have are based on constituencies as per the constitution of the 1991 constitution. And that has been one that will be working because we had a PR system before the constituency system. And that was because we didn't have constituencies in place after the war. Now we've graduated from that, we have come to the constituency system. Now if it is working, why do we want to change it? I heard on the radio, people advocating that. We have seen examples. Somebody came to Parliament the other day who is a member, who was a member of Parliament.
Now, Mr. Speaker, I have said times without number that the Honorable from Agboka is a very senior member of this House. Extremely very senior. And you are the chief whip of the opposition.
Yes.
So when you say stuff here, you should be documents that are in front of us. How can we be discussing social media rantings in Parliament? How can we? We should focus ourselves on saying the fact.
Mr. Speaker.
We should not be concentrating on social media
Mr. Speaker,
discussions. This is
I
Parliament.
want the honorable member to understand that what I am saying, it is not only about social media, it's on radio. The gender bill. All of those things are there. They are. Look, let us try to be proactive. We know it is coming. It is not a secret. It's a public secret. We all know it. Why do you want to hide behind our fingers?
Then wait.
We cannot let the cat look, Mr. Honorable Member. You know I cannot be intimidated. You know that. Let us address the issues as they are, and we know this is in the making. But sir, the PR system, we know behind the scenes there is some, because yesterday, let me point something to you now. A member of the SLPP met me outside yesterday asking me, I'm coming. I'm still on the next.
How can personal discussions be coming here?
You cannot allow me for
regulations like this here.
Mr. Speaker has to go. He has to go.
Abonobo.
So if you continue keeping us here, we'll continue to wait. I'm not making a personal discussion. My opinion was asked on that.
I recognize that you are one of the leaders of on the opposition side.
Yes.
But I'm sure you must have realized how much time you've taken up in this debate. And the two principal leaders still have to make their own contributions. Will you please take that into account?
Okay, I will do so. Now, in paragraph 10, 500 billion loans as a special credit facility to businesses to import commodities. But again, the other day, my opposite number was arguing that black didn't benefit from that money, but from the Munafa fund. Okay, whichever one. Let us assume, for the sake of argument, that the benefit from the Munafa funds, black, an NGO, international NGO, benefits from funds meant for SMEs in this country. Mr. Speaker, let somebody tell me what I don't understand here. How can black from abroad benefit from monies meant for SMEs in this country when they make profit? And their profits, the profits they make, the interest rates are still.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, please. What government exactly did was government needed institutions or organizations to channel the delivery of those monies to business people. They cannot come to Ministry of Finance, but they will delegate it to, for instance, BRAC has been dealing in microfinance. So, yes, BRAC deals in microfinance. So the government used institutions, reputable institutions, to do the transfer, even for the recovery of the funds. So it was on that note that BRAC was brought on board.
Thank you very much for helping me. Thank you for helping me. Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying here is, BRAC, a foreign institution, benefiting from funds meant for local SMEs, the Munafa Fund. And let me tell you, in fact, if you care to know, the Munafa Fund was launched in my constituency without me knowing it. Nobody told me. Nobody told me. So that's not the issue. But what I'm saying here is, how can BRAC, a foreign NGO, come to handle funds meant for our locals? Can't we produce people from within who have to distribute these funds to the locals? We don't have. We have the UTB. They also have a microfinance institution.
Mr. Speaker, at this level, I will continue reminding my colleague. When we have committees there, when the committees, when they do their oversight and they unearth some of these anomalies, they should do their reports so that all of us will debate. But you don't bring committee meetings here in which we don't know. You started this discussion, some other person started this discussion, and we say it's not part of the presidential speech. You are now bringing it back. Bring your report. Let's debate the report. Which committee?
I am talking about monies allocated or meant for this purpose. And how did a foreign NGO get involved? You are still telling me it's not part of our discussion.
You only managed to know about that at a committee meeting in which all of us were not there. No. He was not the one who started that discussion. Another MP started the discussion, and they only managed to know it during the committee meeting. So let us wait until the report is here, and we'll summon back Australia to come and explain.
Mr. Speaker, is the Honorable Deputy Leader of Government Business in defense of BRAC or what? No, but this is something of natural concern. We are talking about issues that involve our people. Our people have to benefit from it. How can a foreign, institution come to tell us, look, and their interest rates are 20% plus?
Point of order, Mr. Speaker, please. BRACs are not the beneficiaries of the fund. They are just a platform.
What order are you standing on?
And also, it was like
what order are you standing on? And because I'm on my legs.
It's 34. I said point of order 34. and also it was a competitive bidding, and BRAC is not the only institution that was awarded the contract. It is by district, at district level. So BRAC is not the only institution, and it was based on competitive bidding. We are looking for credible. Now BRAC, yes, is a Bangladesh-based microfinance institution, but they have served this nation and they are doing a lot. So if they meet the criteria set by the government, then and they won the contract for a particular district, then they deserve it.
Are you done? Are you done? With the same interest rate that they charge for their microfinance operations from government money. Are you denying me? Are you denying that? Are you denying that? No, I want you to now prove me wrong. If you are being the rebel advocate, let's call it that.
You've been on the floor for quite a while.
Yes, because they keep insulting me, Mr. Speaker. And the economy in
I don't know how BRAC came into this.
Yes.
But I've just noticed paragraph 10. Paragraph 10 of the presidential statement.
Yes.
Where it talks about 500 billion special credit facility provided by the Bank of Sierra Leone to support the production, importation and distribution of essential commodities.
Yes. And then go to paragraph 12. We talk about the Munafa Fund, which they benefited from. That was well back in.
Okay, so where does BRAC come in?
BRAC now, they won a contract to paragraph 12, they won the contract to distribute these funds that were meant for SMEs. And they charge a fee for giving these loans to our people because it was meant to help our people. But now a foreign element is coming to benefit from that. That's what I'm saying.
No, wait a minute.
Point of order, sir. I'm very interested that you have established that the Munafa Fund is working. There are regulations set in place for the institution. How do they distribute the money? How do they work with the money based on different SMEs? So we don't have the regulation in front of us. So I wonder what you are talking about, because even if you say BRAC benefited, we don't have proof. What I know that there is investigation in this house trying to prove what BRAC did with the money, but we have not seen the regulations from Central Bank. We have not seen it.
The question, Mr. Speaker.
Let me answer. I beg my colleague on the other side, as a senior member of the House. Yes, it's working. If there's investigation said by my deputy, let him wait for the investigation to be completed. For the investigation to be completed, and we ask for the regulation from Bank of Australia.
Okay,
how did they benefit?
Okay, between the two of you, what fund are we really talking about? Is it the Munafa Fund or the 500 billion that was provided through the Bank of Sierra Leone?
The Munafa Fund, sir. Mentioned in paragraph 12 of the President's speech.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, it was the fund provided for to the Bank of Sierra Leone to help SMEs who suffered through the COVID to recover their businesses. And BRAC was able to get some amount of money from that fund, about 22 billion, and they were to use it, they got it to give loans. This is their microfinance program. And it was interest-free from the bank. They gave it to the people at 25% interest. Wow. And this came out during our hearing with BRAC. And we suspended the hearing and decided that we would summon the bank governor here in Parliament.
So that matter is still subsisting?
It's still subsisting.
So let us deal with it separately from this. It is an important matter. It is an important matter, I agree. It's not a matter to wish away.
No.
At all.
Definitely,
since it is still extant, it will be dealt with accordingly.
Yeah,
but keep it outside of the framework of this debate for now.
Mr. Speaker, whilst I agree with you, I also want this House to note that the subject under discourse took place within the last session. So I agree that because of the relevance and purpose, it could be dealt with at another level. But there is nothing stopping the honourable member from making mention of it. Nothing.
So, will you please wind up now, please? I give you a minute or two. No. I know there have been a lot of interruptions, but quite frankly, 2 minutes is more than enough.
Speaker has landed.
So go.
I'm going down.
Yeah.
In 2020, the regional value chain development project, with a total portfolio of $34 million for Tomabom and Mange.
Where is this?
That was in 2020. I'm referring to 20. I'm going to 2021 now. And so, now what I want to ask here is, just recently, the president was in Vietnam. After spending all that money to invest in agricultural productivity, investing in Romberg, the $37 million. Now what we know, $34 million, sorry, is that recently we heard about an investigation that is going on at the Anti-Corruption Commission to find out how did they actually utilize this money, because up to this point in time, we are still paying more than we are supposed to be paying for rice. And the president, in his goodwill, thought that investing this money in agricultural productivity would have at least created a semblance of self-sufficiency in rice, even if not, but at least cut down the amount. But up to this day, after spending that amount of money, we are still paying this much for rice, and there has not been an improvement. What is happening? What has the investigation produced?
And with that, honorable member, you've spoken for the longest time.
Mr. Speaker, with all the interruptions.
I take that into account.
But you're about me, you know. Mr. Speaker. Bashiru said it. Bashiru told me that. Okay, Mr. Speaker, I know my leader will round up.
Good.
So,
You are an expert.
so, if you say, at this point in time, I must cut short, I will agree with you, because I respect you, you know that. But there will be an opportunity for me to come up with these issues again in this well. And I promise, when we come back for them, we will debate them in detail, and some of these issues. Remember, Mr. Speaker, in 2019, I advised in this well that we must summon certain people to this well to ask certain questions so that we will not get to where we are. Unfortunately, I was not listening to, now we are where we are. So we'll have to, they will have to come to answer those questions.
Okay.
I thank you very much.
I thank you for your contribution. It has been extremely extensive, despite
Mr. Speaker.
all the interruptions.
Mr. Speaker,
But,
just a little clarification.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, during the debate of my senior colleague, I was constrained to actually interrupt him. But I've been reliably informed that during his submission, he stated that I was removed as a mayor as a result of corruption.
Alleged.
Alleged corruption. That itself, Mr. Speaker, for the records, I must state before this House that even that aspersion is groundless from my senior colleague. It has no substance in any case. You know, most times I encourage myself that the least said about this matter, the better. You recall that when...
No, don't make a speech now.
I'm not making a speech.
You are clarifying it.
I have to clear my name. We are before the camera, Mr. Speaker. I have to clear my name.
You've already said it is unfounded.
Even
That's it. Mr. Speaker, nobody said you did this. I said, alleged.
He even went ahead by saying,
and you are saying you are not guilty. So what?
And you have already replied to say it's unfounded.
I just want to bring to his attention of a 32 pages audit report from the Ministry of Finance that cleared me.
Very good.
What you don't understand? No, I have a family name, and I vow to keep my family name like a white virgin sheet of paper. Get this clear. So you cannot make assumption in which you have no base.
Honorable member, you have responded.
Clean, I'm fine. Whenever I am in public office, I always make sure
you have responded.
I am prudence. So take it out. There are still good men. The guy minister Kelfama was a very good man.
Mr. Speaker, I said alleged case. I didn't say indicted.
So get that clear.
So I am not wrong.
Well, will both of you do the needful? Take your seats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So get that.
We'll now wind up the debate with the two principal leaders. I'm sure my brother there will understand. You still want to have a bite? Otim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I wish you could have said thank you very much, but I'm yielding to my leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to make a brief statement
brief
on the speech of the President, Dr. Julius Maada Bio. Well, Mr. Speaker, before I get on to that point of discussing the debate itself, I want to make an observation. For those of us who have retentions of memory, we remember that when the Duke of Kent visited this country and he undertook the activities of commission in this house,
how many of you can remember?
and when Sir Lightfoot Boston was Speaker, one of the statements made by the Duke of Kent was as follows: Mr. Speaker, I hope that you people in this new house will ensure that this place operates according to the rules of civilization. That was what the Duke of Kent said to us. And then now, we have started hearing people making statements that are not true. And if you make a statement that is not true, it means that the Duke of Kent was talking about you. We are very, very unable to understand, some of us, why some of us believe that the whole business about debating between APC, SLPP, and other parties is to win political points. It is not to win political points. What is clear is clear. The fact of the matter, Mr. Speaker, is that the two political parties, and I always think that there are the two political parties in this country that are the strongest political parties, have a full responsibility to make sure that there is peace and tranquility in this country. And that point has to be made. Already somebody has mentioned the fact that peace and tranquility are very, very important in ensuring that, this country stays in a state of normalcy. But having stated that, Mr. Speaker, I hope that whoever comes here to make a statement of untruth will take into consideration the fact that that is not the best way to debate. Mr. Speaker, we have spoken quite a number of times about COVID. Our colleagues on the other side believe that it is a good excuse for poor performance. But it cannot be a good excuse, simply because we have looked at COVID, we have looked at all its advantages and disadvantages, and we have come to the conclusion that there is no way that COVID can be responsible for the backwardness of this country. Mr. Speaker, we have made this point again and again because COVID cannot be the answer to our problems. The fact of the matter is that we have not done the right things to ensure that we promote the development of this country. I have discussed this issue with other people, but they seem to believe that there is even a new development. The war between what? The Russians and their neighbors. Mr. Speaker, that cannot be the answer as well. The fact of the matter is, we have made the point time and again that you do not take your own personal problems at home at the domestic level and think that it should be inherited by other countries elsewhere. If you are unable to solve your own problems, then simply is the case that you cannot solve your problems. Don't give us excuses of whether there is a war between Russia and some other countries. We have no relationship with the war between Ukraine.
But surely.
I know, Mr. Speaker, I know you're thinking on this matter.
No. I know you are not. But I'm struck by the very wide statement you made. I know you are a great debater, but frankly, is it not true that COVID has temporarily arrested the development, not just of this country,
but temporarily
arrested.
Temporary and permanent are not the same, Mr. Speaker.
And many other countries around the world.
We are in a permanent state of backwardness, and this is what we are talking about. It cannot be seen to be temporary, Mr. Speaker. It is not temporary at all.
Mr. Speaker.
So, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, you see, so you stopped me to say something and then you are allowing.
No, we don't even care about that because it was he who led this time. Yes. Okay. Mr. Speaker, as far as we are concerned, whether you talk about the amnesty or not, I don't get it is untrue. It is not the facts. I am a very honest and straightforward man. And you people think that is one way by which you can blackmail people. You cannot blackmail. Mr. Speaker, the weaknesses of a system are found in the fact that the leadership may not be able to provide the necessary leadership that it ought to provide. So, Mr. Speaker, we are aware of the fact that the leaders on the other side, are very concerned about the fact that we are trying to raise very pertinent issues that have to do with the development of this country. And to us, it's important because whether they or ourselves must be committed to make sure that this country develops. We are not going to argue on the basis of whether A has won or B has won. The fact of the matter is I'll continue to debate, to state that if we cannot state the truth, then of course we are making grave errors. Mr. Speaker.
Hold on a minute. There is a stranger in the well. He's been here for much too long. I'm referring to you. If you're helping him, please do that outside. No, still. Go on.
Mr. Speaker, that our people are going through difficult times. Whether we like it or not, hunger is part of the vogue these days. I was in my constituency a few days ago, and I discovered that even the headmaster of and I asked the region chief the pertinent question. How come my headmaster is saying that he does not have food to eat? Then the region chief said, that is simply the fact, Mr. Honorable. These are some of the kind of things which we must not allow to persist in this country, Mr. Speaker. Too many people are starving of hunger. Whether we like it or not, our wives, our relatives go to the marketplace to buy things for the homes. And they come home weeping, lamenting that it was simply impossible for them to buy things in the market because it was too expensive for them. And Mr. Speaker, whether you like it or not, you are looking at me now. The fact is that I will emphasize the fact that things are simply impossible.
Looking at you doesn't mean I'm disagreeing with you.
You are also agreeing with me. It also means, Mr. Speaker, that you are agreeing with me.
It could mean either.
It could be either. Mr. Speaker, this hardship should not be tolerated to be part of our vogue. It has created difficulties for many of our people. I'll just give you the example. Where parents, relatives, people go to the marketplace, they cannot buy anything, they come back home empty-handed. And they complain to us. I went to the market today. It was impossible to do any shopping. Mr. Speaker, is that the way to run a state? Where you keep your people starving? It's unacceptable, Mr. Speaker. Believe me, it's unacceptable. The people of this country are starving. Whether we like it or not, we on this side will mention that fact, that the people are starving. So, Mr. President, please listen to us. Your citizens are starving. Please do something about it. Mr. Speaker, we have also listened to some of your strong arguments on the side of the other side about the many points scored in the area of the free quality education. We have not said that anything is wrong with the free quality education. We have simply said that in some of your own arguments you have oversubscribed. It is not totally true that the education that we seek for our people is correct. Sometimes it is wrong. Mr. Speaker, I questioned some time ago the whole argument that food was being provided for our people in the villages. Our children are fed. We are told that the children are fed. But I have traveled extensively to discover that no child is fed. Mr. Speaker, if you have evidence that in Binti people are fed, children are fed, tell us.
In Binti, yes, yes.
Binti.
The school children are fed.
And what is the name of the headmaster?
RC school, my own school.
What is the name of the headmaster?
Stanley. My own school.
Well, we
my primary
understand.
school.
We understand.
No, it's not the only primary school there.
Without attempting, Mr. Speaker, to undermine the importance of the free quality education, I simply want to state that something must be done more to improve on the food aspect of the free quality education. That is what we are saying. We are not saying that the free quality education does not exist or that food is not supplied to the children, but the fact is that the quantity of food is minimal. And if you have more food in Bo than Makeni, or you have more food in Kailaun than Magoroka, I would understand. Simply because Kenema is Kenema, Makeni is Makeni. And we are not the kind of people who want to be what we are not. Makeni is simply Makeni. And Makeni will not fight to be Kenema. Just like Kenema will not fight or struggle to be Makeni. But the fact of the matter is that Makeni is Makeni and Kenema is Kenema. And if you have advantages at this moment than IB Cargo, then of course that is what has happened. But the ball will change very soon. And Makeni will become Makeni again fully, and then Kenema will become Kenema again where it rightly belongs. But apart from that, what is beautiful about this speech is that it emphasizes the president's wishes for the people of this country. We have also mentioned the very important component of free medical care. Our president mentioned the importance of free medical care. But Kenema and Bo are my second homes. You cannot threaten me with those places. I went there, and this is why he wants to become a part of the Israeli system. So, Mr. Speaker, I was mentioning the importance of the free medical care, which was our program and which you also inherited. But, Mr. Speaker, the importance of this free medical care is that there is a lacuna here. I'm borrowing your word again. You like the word lacuna? You. Both of us. So, Mr. Speaker, that gap is found in the fact that in a good number of hospitals, there are no medicines. How can we talk about free medical care when there are no medicines in the hospitals? I saw the Minister of Health lamenting on television the other day about the problems confronting him and about his need to improve on the free medical care in this country. I was not convinced, and I will remain to be convinced. But the importance, Mr. Speaker, is very, very clear. That we must do something to improve on the health care of our people. Too many people are dying. Too many of our women are dying. And simply because we have this arrogance of believing that we know it all. Mr. Speaker, if we don't know know it all, then of course let us say it so that we can have people to help us. The fact of the matter is that things are simply difficult in this country. Not only the medical component of it, but also the food component of it. I was listening to somebody, and an undertone here, Mr. Speaker, which said, yes, that is true. Because too many people are suffering in this country. And I have already made the point, Mr. Speaker, that if you are going to run a state on the basis of keeping your people hungry, then that is not the best way of running a state. So that is what I want you to understand. Mr. Speaker, we have listened time and again about the need for us to talk about the importance of peace and reconciliation. In fact, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, whom I'm trying to mentor, came here with a document. Then we passed it into a law. But now the difficulty is that the new legislation has not come to fruition because the wrong people have been recruited as state house. And that is not the fault of Francis. It's the fault of those people who did the recruitment. So we ask ourselves the question, how can we continue to waste time, money, on programs, legislations, which cannot be implemented? So, Mr. Speaker, I want you to ask the question, to what extent that legislation has been implemented? It has not been implemented, I assure you. So, Mr. Speaker, peace and reconciliation are important. But it has to come from either side. When we came from vacation, when we returned to Parliament, after we lost the election, we were honest enough to tell people that more than any time before, in a hung Parliament, we will need to reconcile ourselves. And I remember, Mr. Speaker, I did make that statement that reconciliation for the purposes of making sure that we all forge ahead as one united country was most necessary at the time. But I was shouted down from the other side. So, I don't lost election. But that was not it. I saw it coming. Today, Mr. Speaker, more than any time before, we need peace and reconciliation. We need to reconcile ourselves as a people. We do not want ourselves to be in a situation whereby we are permanently enemies, choking each other. So, Mr. Speaker, these are some of the things we want us to understand each other. We do not want any difficulties in this country anymore. Whether you like it or not, those of us who have expressed concern about the future of this country have done so principally because we saw how this country almost collapsed as a result of bad administration and bad governance, as a result of poor administration. We are talking about poor administration. We are talking about starving the people of funds, starving the people of money, and starving them of electricity. Mr. Speaker, these are some of the difficulties we have. If we must, as a nation, work together as one united front, we should be able to recognize the fact that there are certain gaps which must be corrected, like I told you, Mr. Speaker. And if you concede that these facts do exist, then we can correct them and forge ahead. But the fact that some people do not even want to accept and concede to the fact that these gaps exist is what is creating the problem for us. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy that you have given me the opportunity. My own leader will now take over very soon. But the fact of the matter, Mr. Speaker, is that too many gaps, too many mistakes are occurring in this country, which need objective analysis and which must be seen to be addressing very, very urgently, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
I thank the honorable member from Bombali for his contribution to the debate. At this juncture, I have to stand Parliament down for 10 minutes for physiological reasons that I am sure all of you must understand.